Hello everyone and welcome to my channel called Demon Storytime. Thank you so much guys for coming to my channel, for your likes, comments, shares, and of course generous donations. Thank you so much. All information about donation you can find down below in comments. Today we keep reading Grimm's fairy tales, and our story is called Hansel and Gretel. Long ago, a woodcutter lived in a forest with his two children, a little boy called Hansel and a little girl called Gretel. The children's mother had died, and the woodcutter had married again, but his second wife was an evil woman who did not like Hansel and Gretel. The family were very poor, so poor that the time came when they didn't have enough to eat. "What is to become of us?" the woodcutter sighed to his wife one night. "We can't feed the children, let alone ourselves." "I'll tell you what," said his wife. "Early tomorrow morning we will take the children deep into the forest and leave them there. They will never find their way home again, and we will be rid of them." The woodcutter was horrified by this plan, but his wife muttered wicked words into his ear all night until he reluctantly agreed. Fool! The couple had no idea that the children were awake and had heard everything. I guess they was too loud. Their tummies were too empty for them to sleep. Gretel sobbed, but Hansel said, "Don't worry, I know what to do." He put on his coat and quietly slipped out of the house. He collected as many white pebbles as he could find into a little bag. Then he crept back inside and said to Gretel, "We will be all right, I promise." The children wrapped their arms around each other and sat like that for the rest of the night. Just before sunrise, the woman got the children up. "We are going into the forest to fetch firewood," she ordered. She gave Gretel a chunk of bread to share with Hansel for lunch, and off they set. But every now and again, when the wicked woman wasn't looking, Hansel dropped a white pebble from his bag to show him the way back. Smart children, yeah. Here are the people walking through the forest. Dad and mom and kids. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the woman lit a fire. "Stay here while your father and I go to fetch more wood," she said, and away they walked through the trees. Of course, they didn't come back. The children waited until night fell, but there was no sign of them. Gretel was afraid and began to cry, but Hansel took her by the hand and followed the white pebbles which gleamed in the moonlight all the way back home. Their stepmother was shocked to see them, although she pretended she was delighted and made a fuss of them, saying, "Oh, my darlings, I lost you in the forest. I have been heartbroken." But that night she again told her husband that the children had to go. What the heck? The very next day, excuse me, they were to be abandoned even deeper in the forest. Once again, Hansel and Gretel were awake and heard everything. Hansel got up and went to pick up pebbles as he had done before, but the woman had locked the door. "Don't cry, Gretel," he told his sister, hugging her. "We'll think of something." Early next morning, the woman once again gave Gretel a chunk of bread to share for lunch. With her brother and led them off into the forest. As they walked, every now and again Gretel crumbled a little of the bread on the path, so showed the way back. Again the woman left the children by a fire, and again they waited till nightfall. Then they searched for the trail of bread, but they could find no trace of it. The bird had eaten every last crumb. "Never mind," Hansel comforted Gretel. "Maybe we can find the way on our own." They walked the whole night and all through the next day, but they could not find their way out of the forest. Then suddenly they glimpsed a little house through the trees. They couldn't believe their eyes. It was built of cake, with a bread roof and windows of clear sugar. The starving children ran to it at once, broke bits off and tucked in. How delicious it tasted! Suddenly the door opened and an old woman came hobbling out on a stick. She probably wasn't happy someone's eating her house. Lovely drawing. I don't know if you can see it. The witch old woman is very angry. Children are scared. She bent down to peer closely at the two shivering children, for she could not see well at all. Hansel and Gretel were terribly frightened, but the old woman said kindly, "Oh, you dear children, are you lost? Do come in, I will look after you." She gave them milk and pancakes, then showed them to two little beds to rest. Hansel and Gretel were so tired that they happily went straight to sleep. They didn't know that the old woman was actually a witch who ate children. Come on, what a difficult destiny these children. As soon as the brother and sister had fallen asleep, she seized Hansel and locked him in a cage. He screamed and screamed, and Gretel woke up and came running. Then the witch forced Gretel to fetch water and cook a meal for Hansel, for she wanted to fatten him up, ready for eating. Every day, the witch forced Gretel to do hard tasks around the house. She had to cook, find food for Hansel, while she lived off nothing but crab shells. Every morning the witch hobbled to the cage and cried, "Hansel, stick out your finger so I can feel if you will soon be fat." And every morning Hansel stuck out a little chicken bone, so she thought he was still thin. 4 weeks passed, and the witch grew tired of waiting. "Right, time for a tasty meal of little boy," she announced one day, licking her lips. "First we'll bake some bread. Girl, go and climb inside the oven to see if it is hot enough." The wicked old woman meant to shut Gretel in and cook her first. But Gretel was clever and said, "Climb inside the oven? I'm not sure what you mean. Can't you do it first to show me?" The old witch crossed and grumbled, and shuffled up and stuck her head into the oven. Then Gretel gave her a mighty push, and clunk! She shut and bolted the door. The witch was trapped inside. The brave little girl raced to the cage and set Hansel free. How they danced for joy! They filled their pockets with the witch's treasure and raced off into the forest. As they ran, the trees became familiar, and at last they saw their father's cottage. To their delight, he rushed out to meet them without his horrible wife, for she had fallen ill and died. Yay! Their father had been miserable without them. He didn't know how he had ever let his wife leave them in the forest. Thought he suspected she must have put him under some sort of evil spell. Hansel and Gretel emptied their pockets and showed their father that they would never have to worry about money again, and they all lived happily ever after. Into the end, right? That's it, my dears. See you next time. Bye.